Now turn to Section 1. Section 1. You will hear part of a telephone conversation between a customer and a booking agent. First, you have some time to look at questions 1 to 6. Listen carefully and answer questions 1 to 6.
OK, well, based on the date you have set for your big day and the information you've told me about, how would you like it to be? I can tell you that I have 3 suitable venues. Would you like to hear what they are?
Of course.
Well, the first is the Royal, a restaurant located just off Burgundy Road, right in the centre of the city.
Sounds nice.
There's more. The Royal has its own private event room, which can be booked for the entire evening for only £4,000. And the icing on the cake, the price I've quoted you includes catering costs.
Wow, that's good.
And another perk of booking this restaurant is that it is located in very close proximity to a hotel, the Royal Hotel. Wedding guests who want to stay there overnight will get a special discount on bookings.
Right. Well, that's certainly a factor to consider. Though now that I think about it, I've been to the Royal before and I found the event room rather cramped with just 100 people inside. My wedding will be attended by more than 200 guests, so perhaps we'll need a bigger venue. What else have you got?
We also have Venue 1. That's the establishment adjacent to City Hall. You mentioned that you are looking for more space. Well, you can hire out both rooms in this venue for just under £4,500.
That sounds reasonable.
I think it is. Very reasonable. There is one slight issue you may have, though. The rooms are on separate floors. Essentially, you will be hiring out both floors of the restaurant for the evening, and your guests will unavoidably have to be separated into 2 groups.
That's not ideal, is it?
I guess not, but the venue can at least host 250 guests. Plus, did I mention that a wedding band can be provided free of charge?
Really?
Yes, the restaurant has a very good house band, which is always available for such occasions as part of the package.
Before listening to the rest of the conversation, you have some time to look at questions 7 to 10. Now listen and answer questions 7 to 10.
OK, I'll definitely give it some serious thought. Are there any other options, though?
There is the Alibi Club 9731.
How do you spell that?
ALIBI, as in the word alibi.
That's what I thought. Isn't it a nightclub?
It is many things. A nightclub, bar, wine bar, restaurant, sushi bar, etc. It's a huge place inside the Regency Tower. REGENCY. The city's tallest building. So you're going to be guaranteed spectacular views.
Sounds expensive.
It is. £10,000 actually.
Oh, no, that's far too expensive.
Well, there is a Monday evening offer. Monday bookings get the venue for 50% less than the normal price.
OK, that's a bit more realistic. But do I really want to have a Monday wedding?
That's what you've got to decide. As part of the package, they'll also give you a complimentary cake for the occasion.
Interesting. Well, look, I'll have a think.
That's the end of Section 1. Now turn to Section 2. Section 2. You will hear a town planning official talking to a businessman. First, you will have some time to look at questions 11 to 15. Now listen carefully and answer questions 11 to 15. We've looked at your proposal, and while we are relatively happy with it and prepared to give you the go-ahead to get the project started, that is only on condition that you make some modifications to the original plans. First of all, having 2 car parks is all well and good, but you only have a ticket office in one of them. What happens if a customer encounters a problem in car park 2? Does he have to go all the way over to car park 1 to get help? That'll have to change. Another issue we have is the location of one shopping outlet in isolation on the opposite side of the road to the main complex. I'm referring to the designer boutique by the roundabout. It's highly dangerous to expect people to cross over the road there. An accident waiting to happen, quite frankly. We very much approve of the placement of a flower bed in the centre of the complex, and of course it makes sense to have this leading into the garden centre, as you have shown in your plans. That said, we're not sure a garden centre is the right kind of store for this location, and we would like you to carry out some further market research to provide evidence that there would be a demand for gardening products where such an outlet to be built. Also, the building in the main complex near to car park 2 is the Cineplex Cinema. That's fine, but we have a big issue with the placement of the cloakroom and toilets in a separate building. There's no logic for that, for goodness sake. What's more, the toilets are on the garden centre side of the building, which means they're even further away from the Cineplex. The only reason we could think of for laying out your plans in this manner is so that toilet users would be forced to walk through the electrical store in the middle of that building. Not acceptable. The Cineplex must have its own toilets. Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 16 to 20. Now listen and answer questions 16 to 20. Other than that, we are fairly happy with your proposal and welcome the fact that your company is eager to invest in our town. We are willing to give the proposal conditional approval today. Conditional on the changes I have just outlined being made prior to the commencement of building work. At the next Town Planners meeting, please present your revised plans and the Council will then grant the go-ahead for work to begin. As regards your application for grant aid, the Council has rubber-stamped funding of £1.3 million, which is £0.3 million in excess of the amount you applied for. This is a gesture of goodwill on the part of the Council to show you that we are very supportive of your bid to build the Knightsbridge complex here in Newsworth. Of course, the grant aid has some conditions attached to it. First of all, if your business does not remain in operation for 5 years, the grant should be repaid in full. If your business closes within 10 years, half the grant must be refunded. If your business shuts after the 10th and within the first 15 years of operation, you will be expected to return 1/4 of the grant aid. Secondly, you will be required to employ local people to work at the centre where at all possible. Of the 500 employees, 75% should come from within 5 miles of Newsworth, and the other 25% should be within a 25-mile radius of the town. Only under exceptional circumstances, and with the formal approval of the Council, can you employ someone who does not fit the criteria I have just outlined. Now, that's the end of section 2. Now turn to section 3. Section 3. You will hear a discussion between two students of international business. First, you have some time to look at questions 21 to 25. Now listen carefully and answer questions 21 to 25.
Long time no see.
Hi, Chris. Yeah, it's good to be back.
Definitely. Good to see you, El. I haven't spoken to you since, gotta be last June, was it?
Yeah, that's right. Just after the end of term exams. How did you do, by the by?
Not as poorly as I've been anticipating. I imagined there might be some resits in the offing, but thankfully I managed to just about pass every module, which was a huge relief. How about you?
I was really happy with my grades and I'm still on track for my first in my degree. But there was one hiccup.
Really? Do tell.
Well, I sat the accounting exam with a fever and needless to say didn't do so well. I ended up having to take it again in August.
Oh, how terrible. Must have ruined your summer.
A little, but it all worked out in the end and I did brilliantly second time round.
Well, that's cracking stuff, El. Well done. I'm envious of you. What with your being on course for a first, I'll be lucky to get a 2-2 at the rate I'm going.
What percentage are you on overall at the moment?
42.
Well, you know, third year only counted for 25% of the overall grade for our degree. Fourth year makes up the rest, so you still have plenty of time to pull out a good grade. You just have to apply yourself a bit more seriously.
I know. Perhaps we could get together a study group of some sort. What do you think?
Sorry, Chris, I can't.
Guess group study isn't everyone's cup of tea then. Never mind.
It's not that. I'm all for a bit of group study, but bear in mind that I don't live on campus anymore.
So you moved out and got your own place?
No, I couldn't find one, so I moved back in with the folks. Now I get the train in from home every day. Takes about half an hour, so it's not so bad.
I didn't realise. Shame we won't see so much of you around in the evenings this year then.
I know. I'll miss the feel of the campus too.
Before you hear the rest of the discussion, you have some time to look at questions 26 to 30. Now listen and answer questions 26 to 30.
Have you chosen your modules for this semester yet, by the way?
No, I'm still putting it off. Can't make up my mind what I want to do. You?
Yeah, my first choice was marketing.
Well, you love marketing, don't you? So I was sure you'd choose that. Me, though, I'm not completely convinced I want to do that module. I was leaning more towards human resources, though I haven't made up my mind completely yet.
Why not do them both? I am.
But then I wouldn't be able to do business law as it clashes on the timetable. No way.
Oh, yeah, I forgot. You love all that legal stuff, don't you?
Are you doing organisational behaviour?
No. You?
I would sooner enrol in a class that entailed watching the grass grow for an hour and a half every day. I can't stand that Professor Leon Smith. What an absolute bore.
Steady on. It's not that bad. I know what you mean.
I think finance is an important module. Wouldn't you agree?
That's why I'm doing it.
We'll see you there then. We can sit together.
Great. Sounds like a plan. Now, how about...
That's the end of section 3. Now turn to section 4. Section 4. You will hear part of a psychology lecture. First, you have some time to look at questions 31 to 40. Now listen carefully and answer questions 31 to 40.
Is anyone familiar with the term parapraxis? Well, by the looks on your faces, I can surmise that you are not, or that at least if you are not aware of the fact. In actual fact, I am very confident that all of you have come across parapraxis before, but you may recognise it by its more familiar name, a Freudian slip. A Freudian slip is an error in speech, memory or physical action, which can be interpreted as having occurred on account of some repressed or subconscious wish, conflict or train of thought. Some would pass off these glitches in our speech as slips of the tongue. But in psychoanalysis, a discipline founded by none other than Freud himself, whose name, of course, has lent itself to the term here described, they take on much more significance, and indeed can often give an insight into the speaker's deepest and most suppressed inner thoughts. There is a common misconception, however, that all slips of the tongue can be interpreted as Freudian. In actual fact, for a Freudian slip to have occurred, the speaker must not consciously be aware that they were thinking or feeling the things that the slip revealed. For example, if a man is in love with a woman he knows, but has never told her, and in conversation, when asked by the woman whether he would like to accompany her to a movie, he replies, "I would love you," as opposed to, "I would love to." This is not a Freudian slip. Why? Because the man is consciously aware of his feelings for the woman. They are secret from her, but not from him. For a slip to be truly Freudian, the feelings must be secret from the speaker, as well as the person being spoken to. In other words, the speaker must not consciously be aware of how he feels. Freud believed passionately in the notion that nothing happened by chance, and that the numerous little slips of one sort or another that people make in their speech could be interpreted to reveal something useful in psychoanalytical terms about the speaker. He was convinced, in the particular case of Freudian slips, that they revealed the presence of restrained or repressed intentions. Freud held a similar view of dreams, and indeed is probably most famous for his work on dream analysis. However, the Freudian viewpoint is not without its skeptics. Many cognitive psychologists argue that slips of the tongue can be explained away for a much more simple reason. They are linguistic slips which result on account of poor attention to detail, insufficient knowledge, incomplete sense data, and so on. Another explanation they give for such slips is the influence of locally appropriate response patterns that are strongly primed on account of recent activation or prior usage. That is, we sometimes use the wrong words because they are close to the forefront of our thoughts, having already been used very recently, or having been used in a similar but slightly different context before. Linguists support this view, and also point out that some sentences and phrases even lend themselves to error on account of the fact that they contain archaic or very old and rarely used words, or unusual expressions with forms that can easily be mixed up and confused. They argue, therefore, that such slips are down to strong habit substitution. In other words, we commonly replace unfamiliar words and phrases with words and phrases that sound similar or that are close in meaning, but which may, in the particular context in which they are spoken, not make adequate substitutes for the replaced words or phrases. What is clear is that.
That is the end of section 4. You now have half a minute to check your answers.